It is Monday, so let's talk about the books that I have read and if I would recommend them in the previous week. So let's start off with my DNFs. My big DNF is Novella. Is it fantasy? That comes into the question. Because the only thing about this book that is anything fantasy element is its secondary world. The dragon eye on the cover and on this stunning edition, right, is a paperweight. It's a fucking paperweight. This book is more literary than fantasy, and it was grossly mismarketed. That makes me boil up in rage inside, because I paid money on this, and it would, if I knew exactly what it was about, I probably wouldn't have bought it. But I was recommended it was kind of like Game of Thrones, so I'm expecting multi-POV, even if it was a multi-POV, which this isn't. Real gritty politics, in like honest to God, gripping characters, even if they are questionable. And this just didn't have them. This would have been better if we followed the female character that appeared partway through the section I read. I got to page 220, right? And I had 5 hours left on the audio, and I was like, I cannot do this. I just cannot do this. I was bored out of my head. Hardly anything was happening. There was the main character we were following. There was just nothing engaging about him at all. No. And something happened where he went in the woods. I was like, oh, is this going to be the moment where things are really going to start to kick off? Like the fantasy element and the politics is going to get caught by bandits or something. Nothing happened. He just ran to back. I was like, what? What was the point of this? What was the point of that journey and half the stuff that went through? And to be as big as this, no. Do not recommend that. Do not read it. I also DNF'd Hurricane Wars. Now, the reason I DNF'd it is, honestly, eye roll. This is my issue with a lot of fantasy romance, right? I'm not against romance, but I'm against how it's told. And it's very much enemies to lovers, but they spent half the time of just meeting each other. Like, why am I thinking about this guy? Why am I thinking about her? Not actually doing any sort of work to show the characters, you know, unwillingness and hatred for each other, but slowly unpicking those threats and kind of realising, oh, maybe the other person isn't as bad as I thought they were. Or maybe, you know, yeah, they're attractive, but I still don't like them. Right? But then kind of realising, oh, they did this and that makes my opinion of them change. That kind of thing. That's what... And instead, it was just constantly in a monologue, which I disagree with anyway, from a writer standpoint. Constant in a monologue about, why am I thinking about this? Why am I thinking about that person? Why am I thinking... Why am I doing this? Why am I... And I'm just honestly eye roll the whole time. And some people I've spoken to who read a lot of fantasy romance were like, yeah, that went downhill fast. And it did. Because it started off so good. So good. I love the spaceships. I loved like the dragon, how they appeared. I love the war it started, how it thrust us into everything. And then you bring the two love interests together and it just derails from there. Which is the issue I find with a lot of romance. The authors don't put enough work to have both characters grow. They rush it too much, and it's like, actually take a breather and work through this. I'm still reading Fire and Blood. Now, Fire and Blood, I'm loving it so much, but I'm putting it on hold because I've got to the point where I think they are going to end season 2. I think. And it makes me more angry reading the book and then the direction they've gone with Damon. Like, the book version, so much better. Why the hell? Why would you go that direction with Damon? But I don't know. Obviously, I think they're probably going to bring some things forward. But I'm going to put it on hold till I finish the season. And then I'm going to dive back into it. Because it's so much fun. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's cool, man. I have finished so many books this week. Not all of these were physical, by the way. I just happen to own all of them. But like, physically reading all of these in a week, that sure gone. But I did finish Dragon's Legacy. It took me a little over a week to read it. It was entertaining. It was fun. It was a lot of it was kind of political, hinting at things to come later on. And I had a whale of a time. I love the idea of a dragon waking up and gonna burn the world, and some people wanting it and some people not, and then being like against each other. But it's setting the foundation. There's a lot of political manoeuvring going on. There's a lot of deaths happening. There's a lot of everything. I like it. Another one. Seven Moons of Mali Media. Love this till the ending. The ending I found was just a bit cheap. Very, very cheap. I'm going to do a full review on my TikTok about this. But cheap as fuck. Kind of wish it went a little bit more in a different direction. But definitely worth a read. It definitely pulls the emotional heartstrings. I love it. And I also love that it's second person. Clytemnestra! Clytemnestra! Oh my god. Clytemnestra. So much feminine rage. And so much of everything. I know it's a retelling, but it does make me kind of sad that she waited so long to get her revenge. To even step towards her revenge. Like, there wasn't really anything she was doing behind the scenes for her revenge. And I was kind of like, well, the guy did kill your husband and your, newborn baby, and then forced you to marry him. And you waited years to get revenge on that. But that is going with the whole mythology telling. That's what it is. Definitely still worth the read. Definitely loved it. Loved her as a character. Love where everything's going with this. And the author, how she wrote this, brilliant. Yes, I recommend this. Now, this book really surprised me. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And yeah, I think I read it at the right time. The Principles and Moments. I did this on audio. Most of these were on audio. I fucking love this shit. Like, how everything came together, and the world, and the time travel, and everything. The only criticism I do have of this is that there was one character who was meant to be really ill, and they didn't really describe that very well, or there was no true impact or showing it getting worse. But I think it was illness via his, like, magic system kind of thing. I was like, but what's the impact of that now? But anyway, I enjoyed this. It's sci-fi. Yeah. Love King George. Never thought I'd say that. But I do. Everything about this. And I'm intrigued to see where this is going to go. I'm really glad I got this now. I'm also super glad I met the author and signed it. Because I was talking to the author, I was like, oh, I'm not really sure. She's like, oh, you will love this if you love this and this. And I was like, okay, yes. And she was right. She was fucking right. So, Principles and Moments. Yeah, I recommend this. Go read it. The audio is pretty good. I do like the audio. Mostly. Okay, let's talk about the audio. The audio I like. There's 3 narrators, because at every end of the chapter there's like a preview from like text and stuff from books. Her narration, solid. Love her. Right, the male narration, again, solid. But Asha, one of the main characters, her narration just didn't sit with me. It was fine. The other 2 nailed it. Her, not so much. But didn't really derail my enjoyment of the story. I had a well of a time. And now I want book 2. So guys, go pick this up. Finally, I went back to Way of Kings. I had so much fun. So I spent the weekend basically just reading, and I got to the section of Fire and Blood on Saturday, then I picked up this on Sunday. And I love being back. I got to the point of, like, there's so many good moments in those books, and I'm on part 3, and I'm like getting to the point where I'm like cheering, and I'm like, yes, Kaladin, yes. This is why I love this series so much. And oh man, I love my Way of Kings. I just haven't had time to go back to Way of Kings. I just haven't, because, art's got in the way, life got in the way. It's a big book. I've been reading it very slowly. I'm annotating it. Love the shit out of this. I'm half tempted to like pick up the audiobooks, even though I don't like Michael Kramer, right? This is how much I love this series, is I suffer through Michael Kramer, right? I suffer through him. But to pick up the series on audio, binge it within like 2 weeks, and then be annotating the books at the same time and go and like read them like multiple times. Like last year I read them twice. Who gives a shit? Once physically and once audio book. But I'm obsessed. I love Way of Kings. It's definitely worth your time. Stormlight 5 is going to be the biggest fucking thing coming out. But I did pick up the Expanse book 4, and it's far better than book 3. Far better than book 3. I have faith in the authors. I do hope it's not going to become like a theme where like one book's nah, next book brilliant, one book nah, next book brilliant. So if book 5 is nah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've bought pretty much almost all of the series. I'm mainly doing it via my library, but I had to buy a few out, so I bought a few of them. So I'm hoping I finish that this week, because obviously I'm going away next week, and there's not a lot of audiobook time when I'm away. So I'm hoping I can get that read. The only ones I don't recommend is Nivola. Out of all of them, I recommend those books. You should definitely go pick them up. I am still reading Spear Cuts Through Water. It's my when I'm stressed audiobook, which isn't happening as much, but it's there just when I need it, for when I need it. I'm still reading and writing and world building. When can I call that still reading? I haven't touched it in ages, like months. But I am reading it. It's still on my Goodreads, it's currently reading. But last night, I'm still in the middle of that. I need to pick the audiobook back up at that because I got the rest of it. I've got first half was an arc and I've got the second half, so I have to go back and re-listen to the whole thing. But that is what I've read this week. That is what I recommend. Let me know what you read this week and if you would recommend them. And happy reading.